Welcome to Murder with the Missus. I'm Darren.
And I'm Amy. And today we're going to tell you about Mica Miller.
Don't forget to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, and Facebook. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you get the new episodes whenever they drop. And tell your friends as always.
Now, I told you we weren't going to talk about this, but I lied. We're totally talking about this.
Talking about what?
Mica Miller.
Oh, yeah.
If you are anything like me, you have been immersed in this for the last little bit of your lives. What day is it? I couldn't tell you. This is so heartbreaking. And as new information comes out, what seems like every 2 minutes, it's held me captive. For those who aren't as obsessive as I am, this might be one to read up on because the story is out there for a reason. There is a trigger warning for self-harm. Some things may be really hard to hear. We are going to play her 911 call, and it's a big trigger warning on that one. So proceed with caution, safety first, as always. And all parties are innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. We are for educational purposes only. Also, I need to apologize in advance again. I do that a lot because there is a lot of information. Some I won't even be able to talk about in this one to keep it around the time. So I may rapid fire stuff off without talking about it in between, but it's just because I'm trying to get you all the facts. So here's the rundown. Mica had just turned 30 years old. She was fun. She had a welcoming smile that was contagious. And she was very close to her family. She loved the beach and being outdoors. She was very adventurous and liked hiking, running, skydiving. She joined the Solid Rock Church in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina at a young age and was part of the youth program there. Her pastor and founder of Solid Rock, John Paul Miller, or JP, as we will refer to him today, says they had been best friends since 2009. She was 15 years old in 2009. He was about 28, 29 years old at that time and married with 5 kids. 4 of those kids were with his current wife at the time. Mica met and married a man named Jeremy. The proposal video looks like it was at the church, and the ceremony looks like it was at the church. We know it was JP who officiated the ceremony. The 2015 Solid Rock servant list supposedly shows Jeremy was in charge of the sports ministry, short groups, and Sunday morning breakfast. Mica is listed as being on the media team and handling landscaping while being JP's secretary. So both were very immersed in the church. In 2015, Mica and JP were caught in the act of cheating by JP's wife. Both spouses filed for divorce, understandably. After this, the elders at Solid Rock told the congregation that they weren't Christians if they didn't forgive them. JP and Mica were married on December 31st of 2017. So not only are they immersed in the church, this is the kind of church that this was. Forgive them or go to hell, basically. And I mention this infidelity because it's a big part of the case. The part where it shows JP groomed Mica starting at a young age when he held a type of authority over her or some sense of power in this church.
Some stuff even came out about this church, even how they treated people, especially the women.
Yeah, women were just, you just got to look into it because holy cow. But Mica became the worship leader and graphics designer, youth leader, women's ministry leader, and of course the pastor's assistant. But on Saturday, April 27th of 2024, a 911 call came in at 2:54 p.m. The caller asked the operator if they could locate her phone, and they checked and found out that she was at Lumber River State Park. The operator asked what's going on, and the woman says she's going to kill herself and wants to make sure her family can find her. The operator tries to keep her on the line, but the woman hangs up. And so we'll play that call for you now so that you can actually hear her, because that's another thing we're going to talk about today is this call.
Robinson County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
Hi, are you able to trace the location of my phone?
Let me see. You don't know where you're at?
At National Park.
What's the phone number you're calling me from?
843-655.
Where's the park located at?
in Bear Bluff.
Let's see.
I have my location on, I think, on my phone. Find My Phone is on. Just did my my location.
Okay, I'm showing, hold on one second. I don't think you are in Robeson County. At the Lumber River State Park.
Yeah, that's where I am.
Okay. Tell me what's happened.
I'm about to myself, and I just want my family to know where to find me.
Okay, ma'am. Just listen to what I'm saying, okay? Let me make sure I got the exact location where you're at, okay? Just 1 minute.
And that's when Mica hangs up. So she had to Google this state park. She actually Googled state parks near me and then drove over an hour to this park. And then to hear her voice, like to hear her is just so sad. And at one point you can hear her actually like exhale, almost like she's getting frustrated or something because they can't find it or whatever. And that's sad too. But the operator did try to call back and got no answer. And at 3:31, the Robeson County detectives arrived at the park and tried to get the phone ping for the location of the phone. At 3:50, drones arrived to do an aerial search. A man comes up to the cops and says that he found a bag while he was fishing. The bag had Mica's ID inside. And the fisherman said he heard crying and then a gunshot. He made his way to the area where the sound came from and found the bag about 2 feet from the edge of the water. At 4:23, a man called 911 and said he was out kayaking and found a body in the water. They did find her car parked in the parking lot, and inside there was a Sig Sauer gun case in the passenger seat, a box of ammunition in the console, the receipt for the gun, and a receipt from a gas station, both dated for that day. And there was also a sandwich in the passenger seat, which I thought was odd, but at 7:11, the gun was found in the water. JP did do his Sunday morning sermon as usual the next morning. He laughed, joked, and talked himself up, calling himself handsome and charming. It was at the end of the sermon that he asked the congregation to stand up. Basically, he told them don't react and don't talk about it, but says, I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. It was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina. Y'all pray for me and my kids and everybody. You all know she wasn't mentally well, and she needed medication that was hard to get to her. I'm sure there are going to be more details that come out, but keep her family in your prayers.
Oh, details came out all right.
Yeah.
They haven't stopped coming out since this happened.
You're right. Because we've seen the video where she goes into the pawn shop. We see, her stop and get that gas. We see that she got something to drink, but she had also left her house with a water bottle. So we're not sure why she got something to drink or where that sandwich came from. It was in like a Ziploc bag, like it had come from home. So it's just kind of weird that she packed snacks like she was going to go for a walk. So this just leads to the weirdness of the case, I guess is what you could say. It's just, it doesn't make sense. And this is why the case is everywhere right now. Mica's death has been ruled a suicide. And like I said, there's footage of her going into the pawn shop at 12:12. She leaves the pawn shop at 12:34 with the gun. And this was just a couple of hours before she called 911. She was on lithium and had recently reduced the dosage from 2 pills to 1, but this was approved by her doctor as safe to do. She was in the process of divorcing JP. She had filed for divorce previously but dropped it, then recently filed again. She had joined a new church and had just been rebaptized. You'll see pictures of her online where she's at a beach in a blue shirt and leggings with wet hair and a huge smile on her face. And this was her rebaptism. JP was released from his church duties since then, and the church has now closed. Now, mind you, it's only been a few weeks, and this is how much stuff has been coming out, is enough to shut this church down and relieve him of his duties. And it was proven that JP was not in the area when this happened, supposedly. We'll get into that. The family does believe that she bought that gun for protection. So let's talk about why she needed protection. It has come out that JP was a stalker, manipulator, and deviant. Just use a negative adjective and you'll probably hit the nail on the head. There's been reports from her family and friends of him forcing her into sex acts with other people, and he participated as well. We won't go into those details because that's pretty private. We're here to talk about Mica and what happened to her that day. His lawyer helped get power of attorney over her, and one of his punishments for her was to have her involuntarily committed to mental health facilities. So every time she's been committed with him, it's because he has committed her. The last one I saw was on February 8th of this year. She was involuntarily hospitalized for 48 hours, according to the Myrtle Beach Police Department. She was discharged on the 10th, and the facility told her that JP took her purse and her keys.
She went to Walmart Neighborhood Market where she left her car, but it was no longer there.
Nope, he took it. On February 21st, she told police that JP fraudulently committed her to the facility and stole her car, that he'd started grooming her at 10 years old. The cop called JP, who said Mica suffered from episodes every year at Christmas time, and she spends a lot of money when she stops taking her medication. So it sounds like he committed her as a punishment for spending too much money on Christmas presents. What the fuck? And I do need to say that the reports don't actually mention his name. It says the suspect, but we all know who that is because they talk about, the suspect drove by in her car. We called the suspect, and it's JP. It's JP. Now, since the car was considered marital property, she couldn't file charges on him or make him bring the car back. On March 11th, Mica called the cops again because her tire was slashed. She thought it was JP's doing because she found a metal device that can be bought online called a tire deflation device, and it looks like a weird razor blade, but they haven't been able to prove that it was him. A little while later in that day, JP came up to her in a gas station parking lot, and he was threatening to post topless pictures of her online. Her pastor. This is the pastor. But she pulled out her phone and started to record him. This video is also available online. By the time she started recording, he was walking away, saying, "The pictures will be on Facebook in a few hours." And she says, "Well, you'll be in jail in a few hours." He admitted to posting a topless picture of her online, but in his apology text to her, he said it was only for an hour. That makes it better. And it wasn't on Facebook. It was on a different website. I won't say the name of it, but it's got a specific type to go there. But because he put a highlighter marker over her nipples, he didn't break any laws. And the fact that once you send a picture to someone, it becomes their property, and they can do what they want with it within the confines of the law. And he just barely squeaked by on that part.
She then went to the Honda dealership to get her car fixed, and the mechanic told her they found a tracking device on the car.
Yes, this actually happened on 2 occasions where they found tracking devices on her car that JP had put there. That's how he was able to follow her around all the time. That's how he found her at the gas station, actually, and how he showed up at the dealership while she was there. Mica called the cops again, but this time she said she wanted a restraining order because she was afraid for her life. And the cop had her bring the tracker to the magistrate's office, and while they were talking, a white Honda slowly drove by. Mica basically said, "There's JP right there," and the car sped up and drove away. On March 13th, someone at Solid Rock filed a police report saying Mica transferred donated funds from the church's Zelle and Cash App accounts to her personal bank account. And these were funds for the Dare to Care mission, where they go to Africa and build schools. Mica was very involved in this mission. She had talked about moving to Kenya and had actually already started sending some of her belongings over there at this time. But this person said that $1,199 was basically stolen. No one believes that she would take this money. The day before Mica's death, JP went to Charleston with his girlfriend for a sporting event. You heard that right. His girlfriend. He and Mica had been separated for a few months. She lived in her own place, and he had a girlfriend. He has been seen with her multiple times out in public since Mica passed, but always says that they're not together. There is question as to when they started seeing each other, because she was a physical therapist, and she met her husband when he came to her for physical therapy after he became a quadriplegic when he was in a car accident with a drunk driver. They fell in love and got married. And a couple of big-name country singers reportedly helped him get an all-terrain wheelchair when they moved to Myrtle Beach so that he could be more active and so he could go to the beach with his family. 3 years ago, and sadly there is reportedly surveillance footage of this, but he fell into a pool. No one was there to help him, so he sadly drowned. And this has been pulled into the case now. It was ruled an accident. But now there's so much speculation with JP and this woman where they started their relationship at this time. Speculation has been that this was a suicide, and it could have been similar to what happened to Mica. And I only mention it because if not, someone will message me and say I forgot to mention it. So there it is.
The proof the cops have that JP was in Charleston is his truck on the highway. Cameras caught his license plate while he was driving through, I guess toll gates and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess so.
And his girlfriend saying that she was there with him the whole time.
Yeah, so that's his alibi, is his girlfriend saying she was there with him, and then they have pictures of his truck going through. But the issue everyone's having is that the windows on the truck are so darkly tinted that you can't see who's inside that truck. And then JP's dad released a statement saying that his son was not with his romantic partner in Charleston. I'm sure that was an attempt to say that he didn't have a girlfriend, but he just blew JP's only witness as to his whereabouts that day right out the window. And the sports ball event, because I don't know exactly what it was, so we're going to call it sports ball, was around 2.5 to 3 hours away from where Mica was found. He could have made it there and back if it can be proven that he was missing at the event that day or during that time. And that maybe somebody was in a vehicle, or he was in a separate vehicle, maybe they were driving his truck. That's the only, but they got to prove it. Mica's family says that there were multiple shell casings at the scene, so not typical of a suicide. Also, she had scratches and bruising on her hand, which they believe could indicate that someone forced her to hold a gun and shoot. Some believe that the 911 call was either being forced to be made or that it's not Mica at all. They're bringing artificial intelligence into it. Now, see, JP's lawyer, the man who helped him get power of attorney over her, the man who owns property that is along the river very closely to where her body was found, well, his website says that he is an AI specialist. I don't know enough about whether AI is advanced enough to carry on a conversation with someone, because she actually answered questions and spoke to the operator. So I can't form an opinion on that one just yet. I do know that the family was pissed that JP was pushing for a quick cremation. It was delayed a little bit, and that's how the family was able to see the bruising and scratches, and they could kind of look into it a little bit, but JP kept pushing, so it happened. The family is no stranger to his possessiveness. They said she came to them previously and told him she'd be home on Tuesday, but immediately he started texting her sister, saying that he was on his way to her house, armed and ready. She called 911 that day, so you can also get that call online. And they have shown texts between JP and Mica where he's being manipulative. One said, "All of this started because of one bad decision a month ago in Colombia. If I could go back in time, I would. We had the greatest marriage in the world up until that one wrong choice." And to this point, no one's really sure exactly what he's talking about.
Mica also said that if she ever turned up with a bullet in her head, was JP.
Yeah, that was very specific. Everybody's saying how, I don't know if it's foreshadowing but she definitely said it. And the family was obviously just as fearful of how far he would take things. And he was served divorce papers on April 25th, which was just 2 days before the shooting. Who knows what all psychological warfare he unleashed on her in those 2 days. I haven't seen anything released about their last correspondence yet, but things come out so often on this, so we may see that soon. Who knows? Might come out between recording this and when it posts. You never know. And recently, his criminal history came out. During a time when he was with his first wife, assault and battery and contributing to the delinquency of a minor were charged against him. Multiple times. There's multiple, it'll say the charge and then 2 times and then And apparently, he hit a woman twice with his vehicle at a high rate of speed, according to the indictment. Women have come out saying that they dated JP when they were young, too young. One woman said she was 14 when she started dating a 19-year-old JP. And there's lots of claims of grooming girls. So the investigation is still going on for all of that. There were a lot of rumors that the FBI was investigating Mica's death, but they are not. They have said that they're investigating the other stuff, the church, just looking into that to see if there's a case. But the part about Mica's death is not being investigated by the FBI at this point. And we've seen cases like Conrad's, if you know, you know, where someone can push someone else to self-harm and be held accountable. At the least, a wrongful death suit is in the works per the family, but he could be looking at criminal charges as well for some of his alleged indiscretions. But it seems a lot of people are willing to speak up now.
He did reach out to her family after her death.
Oh, yeah, he did. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do all that. But yes, he did. He sent a group text saying, "This is what happens when you try to encourage someone to divorce the person they love and tell them that they don't need medication and that they're not ill when they are. Good job, Francis family." What a dick. The family held a celebration of life at the beach. So he held one the same day at Solid Rock. He said he laid by her body 4 times and tried to raise her from the dead. And he wrote her obituary, which is a doozy. He says, her obituary says, "She truly served Jesus and her husband with all of her heart. She would praise her husband after every church service, telling him he was the best preacher in the world. She also told him he was the funniest preacher in the world." It also said that the family requested memorial donations be made to the Dare to Care Fund. The family has said, no, do not donate to that. You have to keep in mind the money this man had and has made from this church. I mean, they had 8 vehicles in the church's name alone, and he had access to every one of them. That's why I said he could have possibly been driving another vehicle and someone else be in his truck in Charleston that day. And I don't know how that helps build schools in Kenya, but I digress. I hope they're looking into those funds. A lot of people have come out speaking against the church, even people who were in the church. News reporters, YouTubers, all the people covering this information have looked into JP's dad, too. And don't get me started. Okay, I'm going to get started. He's also a pastor. He's been in trouble for being inappropriate with kids. There's some claims from men in Pakistan saying he was kicked out of the country for what he was doing to them over there. Not the kids, the men. There's allegations of arson here in the United States. And he solicited sex from an undercover male officer. That's a whole other can of worms. There has been videos surfaced from one of the church trips to Kenya of Mica talking about attempting to take her own life before, but the gun jammed. JP has used this a lot to dispel rumors that he was involved in her death. Being an asshole doesn't make you a murderer. I agree. But this guy is definitely not a good person. He is being raked over the coals in the court of public opinion because he's gotten away with all of this for so long. He felt invincible, and now he's falling. And his girlfriend, girl, don't turn a blind eye. And I think that about covers where we are today. Like I said, there's a lot. We could spend days just pouring over the text messages and stuff. So if you want more details on anything, it is readily available to view online. And I'm sorry I just spewed all of that out, but it's just too much. And since they were legally still married, even though she had filed for divorce and a protective order, the family's having to fight for rights and to have a say-so in things that go along with her estate. And I saw that her sister was named as the special administrator of her estate, but they do go back to court in June. So there's likely going to be a lot more coming out as this progresses, and we will definitely be updating this one. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it just sounds like there's a lot of cover up in this one.
There's been a lot going on for a long time, and her death is what brought it all out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people believe that she did self-harm.
Yeah. And I mean, listening to the 911 call too, it's just like, you know, could she have done a little bit more to try to take her mind off of it?
I think because some people think that's what she was doing. That's why she went to the state park. That's why she took a snack. That's why she got multiple drinks, because she was planning on going out there to do something.
The operator was just like,
her.
Yeah. She was like, well, let me make sure I got your
right.
Let me make sure I got your location before you do it.
And I think that's why
is what it's like.
And I think that's why you can hear Mica in the middle of it. But with the way she called, it sounds like she was just lost at a state park.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She didn't like come out with this is what's going on.
They gotta know to shift gears whenever somebody actually mentions that.
She did.
You know what I mean?
You could tell her tone changed and also Mica's very unemotional as far as like tears or hysterics. She's not overly emotional. She's just, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people have said, why'd she go all the way out there if she was so worried about her family being able to find her? Why didn't she just do it at home?
That was like some place that she liked to go to she was happy.
It was very beautiful. I've seen pictures of it. It is beautiful.
I mean, maybe that was the reasoning behind that place.
I agree.
And maybe she packed a lunch or something, you know, to kind of enjoy it.
That's true.
One last time.
That's very true.
I mean, I don't believe that that's what it was, but I mean,
it could be.
It could be.
Yeah, I could see it. I guess I could see both ways, but I'm leaning more towards that it was self-harm.
Yeah.
But then that doesn't negate the fact that JP's a douche.
It might be just because, I mean, there's no doubt about it. She was driven to it.
Yes. And that's what everybody's after.
Yeah.
Could he be held criminally responsible?
Why not?
Because like I said, the Conrad case, that's a kid who his friend texted him and have you done it yet? What's taking so long? You know what I mean? So it's like, and they did find her guilty of murder, 2nd-degree murder.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's been done before. So,
I mean, you know, person's mind mentally can only take so much.
And there was a lot coming at her.
Yeah.
But she was working towards, she had a couple of days before that, she posted on her Facebook a video talking about abuse.
Yeah.
And how she was the bride of Christ and that she was that first overall. And she said, no, God doesn't like divorce, but he also doesn't like abusers.
In fact.
So there you go. So I think it sounded like she was on the up.
Yeah.
And that's hard to take for a family.
And that's the whole thing. You know, no woman should ever have to go through mental or physical abuse.
Right.
Ever.
No.
I mean, that's wrong on a whole nother level.
Right. And like she said in her video, it's not just gender specific either. Nobody should have to put up with that abuse.
No, nobody.
Ugh, so sad. So if you or someone you know is struggling with mental health and suicidal thoughts, please call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 800-273-8255 or go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org.
All right. Well, that's it for this one. Catch us on the next one. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell to get the newest ones that drop.
Bye.